Chauncey Spencer, an African-American aviator born in Lynchburg, Virginia in 1906. His mother was the Harlem Renaissance poet Anne Spencer. Spencer saw his first airplane in flight at the age of 11, but after finishing college, despite his family's fame and respect in the South, no one would give him flying lessons in Lynchburg. A family friend, Oscar DePriest, the first black congressman since Reconstruction, suggested that Spencer move to his home district in Chicago to take flying lessons. In 1934, Spencer joined with a group of African-American aviators in organizing the National Airmen Association of America, the NAAA. Working as a kitchen helper in a Chicago restaurant, Spencer used most of his weekly wages for flying lessons. Later, he and a handful of companions bought an obsolete airplane and set out to repair it themselves. 2 years after that, he and fellow NAAA member Dale Lawrence White flew a rented Lincoln Page biplane on a 10-city tour that started in Chicago and ended in Washington, D.C. The notoriety of the Spencer White flight in the black press contributed to convincing Congress to include blacks in the pre-World War II civilian pilot training program. During the Great Depression, Chicago rivaled Los Angeles as a center for black aviation with a highly successful flying club for African Americans led by Cornelius Coffey. In 1931, Cornelius brought together a group of black air enthusiasts to study at the Curtis Wright Aeronautical School. Then he helped organize the Challengers Air Pilots Association to expand flying opportunities for African Americans in Chicago. Coffey and his fellow enthusiasts, including his wife, black female pilot pioneer Willa Brown, promoted the flight of Chauncey Spencer and Dale White, who flew from Chicago to Washington, D.C. in 1939 to campaign for an end to racial segregation in aviation.
You're invited to celebrate Black History Month with TNCRadio.live.
This is Tyrone Gethers Jr., and I'm here live with RMS Radio. RMS Radio is a broadcast from Raytown Middle School, composed of students, and today we have a very unique panel. Live in the studio, we have
Jarvis Walker.
And at home, we have Abigail.
Lexi. Abby.
And
Lexi.
okay, we got Abby and Lexi. Cool. And also, we have a staff member that's supporting us too.
Hi, Miss Brummett.
Okay, so we're gonna air this show last week, but because of some freak weather storms and whatnot, we decided to go ahead and push it to March 1st, which kind of makes sense because the topic of today is our Black History Special, and like I always tell my students, February 1st is not the start of Black History Month; it's the start of Black History Year. So, and this is also a show that the students kind of worked on as well too. We kind of did some discussions in the classroom and whatnot, did some research. So today we're going to go ahead and let it roll out. And also we have Ms. Brummett here today who's going to add on to it. So if you are all listening in, you can watch this broadcast in a number of ways. You can also listen on a number of ways too. If you have Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Periscope.
Twitter, Twitch, YouTube,
Facebook. Yes. And TuneIn Radio. Just type in KUAW, will pop right up. Now, if you want to see us, you can see us on Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook, and YouTube. Also, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can hit us up at 816-599-6893. These kids got a real good show lined out for you, so let's go ahead and get the ball rolling. All right, so first things first. We're talking about Black History Month, right? And we do know that the climate has been kind of off and on in regards to the topic of Black history and cultural competency. So, first thing I want to throw out there to the students, do you all feel that your school does a good, does your school celebrate Black History Month? Just jump in.
Yes, they do celebrate.
Speak up.
You got to speak up just a little bit more, Alexi, so we can hear you.
Yes, they do celebrate it.
Okay. So Alexi says that we do celebrate Black History Month. Myself and Ms. Brummett are part of the Cultural Action Team, And we do different events each month for whatever group is being celebrated. So this month for Black History Month, we did a number of things. We did a trivia.
You did your essay.
Essay contest. And scavenger hunt. And also we had another teacher she had some pictures posted up and down the hallway where students went and did reactions on. Matter of fact, speaking of the essay, Abby was the winner from last year, so yeah, last year's winner. So let's talk about your previous schools. Now we know Raytown Middle School celebrated Black History Month. Did your previous school celebrate Black History Month?
In Kansas City?
Yeah, but the school you went to prior to Raytown Middle School.
In Kansas City or anywhere?
Anywhere.
Oh. I did virtual in Vegas, so they couldn't do anything. But when I was in Charlotte, I don't remember them doing anything. Not to say that they didn't, but I don't remember them doing anything.
Well, I mean, if you don't remember, it probably wasn't too memorable.
That was third grade. So.
Okay. All right. So it was third grade.
Yes.
And you're now in the 7th grade.
Yes.
Okay. That was a long time, wasn't it?
Yes. It's 5 years.
5 years. Okay. Lexi, now you were at a couple of previous schools. Did they do anything with Black history? I mean, you don't gotta name the school, but like, did the schools do anything that was memorable?
Yes, most of my schools did a lot more.
Okay, did you hear that?
No.
Okay.
Since you repeat.
Yeah, can you repeat that again, Lexi? This time, like, yeah, a little bit louder. I think it might be the.
Yes, most of my schools all celebrate Black History Month.
Okay, so your school did as well. Okay, and Abby, a previous school that you went to, did they celebrate Black History?
A little bit.
Okay, just a little bit. Okay, I'm kind of with you because I was at a previous school and I asked about Black History Month and they was like, "No, we don't do that here." And I'm like, "Whoa."
Okay.
It's a that.
A little cold.
Yeah, I mean, if I had hair, it would have turned like it would have fell out. Yeah, that's probably why it's not here. But we're saying that we actually did some things in our school building. So, did you participate in any of the activities that we did in the school? And if so, what activities did you participate in?
Well, I participated in the essay.
You did the essay?
Yes.
Okay. And speaking of the essay, tell everyone what the topic of the essay was.
Should Black History Month be a part of American history, or should it just stay a month?
Okay. And what did you think? I mean, did you say that it should be just a month, or should it be part of American history?
I went both ways, because on one side, obviously, yes, it should be a part of American history. Black people should be supported or celebrated all the time. But on the other side, you know, racist people in general, right, you normally have a problem when Black people try to make themselves like civil rights. White people had a problem with it. You know, anything that Black people tried to do to make themselves be treated more fairly, white people had a problem with it. So if we try to go from a month to be celebrated all year, white people are going to have a problem with it, which is going to cause more havoc and more racism, and that's the last thing we need right now.
You're right. And also, it's not just white people, too. I mean, like, you have a lot of people who are African descent who don't want anything to do with their history. You know, like, I taught a classroom one time, and I had some kids that's like, I really don't care about that. I'm like, well, what's your history? So I think across the board, you made a good point. You got people who just don't care about it. So, strong point. Let's see, Abby and Lex, I know you participated in a few things. What did you participate in?
I did the essay as well.
Okay. And what was your stance on the essay?
It should be all year.
Okay, and why do you feel it should be all year?
Because history is history no matter what color your skin is.
Boom. That's my Abby, man. Okay, now Lexi, you were pretty busy with the stuff. One thing I can say, just about everything we had culturally, Lexi was all over the place. But like, I saw you do a few activities too. So what activities did you do?
I did the scavenger hunt. I did the trivia flex grade. I did do the essay.
Okay. Now, the scavenger hunt seemed pretty cool. Can you kind of explain the scavenger hunt?
So what you did was you look at the picture, and then there was normally a quote on it, and you would say what that quote means to you or what that picture represents to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she was like up and down the hallway, and typically, if I see kids out in the hallway doing stuff like that, I let them just do their thing, because the key thing about it was an educational piece.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why we put on these events, for the sake of education.
Yeah. Like, kids need knowledge, and I think this is a great way for getting them engaged in discovering their own knowledge.
I like this. I like how you said that, because it's one thing to give a kid a book, but it's another thing for the kid to go outside of it and find more outside of it, which will kind of lead to another conversation that we're going to have later on, which is why we're really here. So we kind of jump right into the next one. We talked about the activities that the school does. Let me ask this question, because the activities that the kids that you all saw, we put them together. So if you had your way of putting on activities for Black History Month, what would you do?
I'd do more than just an essay in a scavenger hunt. I'd
There you go.
I do like they do World War II for an example. In my geography class, they do slideshows for 2 weeks straight, and we take notes and assignments for 2 weeks straight. So that's what I do for Black History.
So you have assignments in classrooms. Now I do know in my classroom,
Like normally.
yeah, we did assignments and everything too. But yeah, so you have each teacher have a certain curriculum to
Yes.
teach. I like that. Hope the teachers are watching. Yeah, I like that. Okay, what else? Anybody else? What activity would you like to see? Like, if you had your way, what would you like to do for Black History Month? And Jarvis said he wants to see more lessons in the classroom. Lexi, what do you and Abby think?
I probably would have did like a spirit week to for like the different countries, and then I would have done the assignment in each class.
Okay. I like that. Abby, what about you?
Each class has a certain subject, like Jarvis said, where like everyone teaches something different
Okay.
instead of the same stuff.
Now, they gave some good ideas. I mean,
I really like the Spirit Week.
Yeah, I
That's
do
why
like
I was
that.
like,
Yeah.
ooh, let's do that.
Black History Spirit Week. I like that. Now, what would you rather do, man? I mean, we did some cool stuff. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I would say we had a huge buy-in. But what would you like to have done if we had the ability to do it?
I would have liked to see more kids reading books, or even just poems or short stories, plays. Oh, we could have done a play, like a little skit. But yeah, I would have really enjoyed just like having just a stop and read moment, which I know we as the ELA department have talked about. But just sitting in the halls and just reading together about either history or by Black authors. I have a ton of books by Black authors in my classroom that my kids love. If we can get kids to buy into books that are actually interesting, that are by different authors other than just To Kill a Mockingbird, then it's going to be more interesting and there'll be more buy-in.
I like that. If I could have done it over again, I would have done a field trip. The Black Archives is a wealth of knowledge. I know I talk about it a lot in class with my advisory students, with my Gen Ed students. We talk about how the Black Archives is a huge wealth of knowledge. Also, if I had the time, I would have loved to have had some more Afrocentric things come in, like Burr Fleming and the African drummers. Some African dance, some things that are traditional. so people can actually see the other side of black culture, which is where it came from, the African base. I would have loved to have seen something like that. Some interactive. Guest speakers. So I don't know. I mean, like, I like throwing these ideas around because it's like Jarvis said. We got some cool stuff, but let's do more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Free Black History as if it's a holiday. It's not a holiday. It's history.
Right. It's history. It's not. I like that. And like in my household, like a holiday, my mother used to always say, you don't pick one day out of the year to love your mother. You don't pick one day out of the year to give. You don't pick one day out of the year to be thankful. It needs to go all year round. So, all right, excellent. So, excuse me. I'm just stuck on what you said about the classroom. All right, so now we are going to kind of transition into something else, right? I know Abby and we talked about this a lot in class too. I want my students and teacher and myself to think about this question I'm about to throw out to you all. Remember, whenever you would talk about Black history in school, like whether it be now or prior, who are some of the people that typically are always talked about? Who are the usual individuals that are always talked about during Black history?
Rosa Parks, Dr. Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman. No, just like as if they were those three who made a big impact.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I remember you said that in advisory. You was like, they ain't the only ones. So yeah, yep. So who else? Do you agree with Lexi? Or,
Yes.
Yeah, same ones. Rosa, Dr. King, Harriet Tubman. Yeah. And it kind of seems like we hear the same stories about them. And they're always painted in the same safe light. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So now, if you were actually in Black, could pick what to talk about, who would you like to hear more about or research more about? Like, who? I know one student was like, I'm sorry, go ahead, Lexi.
Well, I would just talk about everyone, even the people who actually were the ones who first started things, but someone else came but after them and was more recognized.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Abby?
More of like the younger people.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, we talked about that in class. I remember I was talking about SNCC, and their eyes got big. So I told them, I'm like, these are kids your age out there making it happen. Okay, I like that. Jarvis?
Slavery and people's slavery stories.
Okay. Okay. I don't know. I talk about John Brown. If you don't know about John Brown was a white man. However, he was very influential in, I guess, the start of the Civil War. You might want to talk about, Harper's Ferry. He empowered people of African descent to fight against enslavement. So, he was like the definition of allyship. Also about, you want to talk about slavery, let's talk about those slave revolts, the successful ones. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked about that in class too. Let's talk about Malcolm, Dr. King when he got enlightened even further, stuff like that. What about you, Ms. Brummett, as far as?
Well, a lot of people, so I'd ask questions about Malcolm X because he is a big, huge player in the civil rights movement, but I don't know anything about him. To be 100%, I don't know anything. And then I've been listening to a lot of podcasts lately, and there are just so many influential people in history, like Sister Rosetta Tharpe. She's super cool. She actually started rock and roll, and that nobody gives her credit at all. Mm-hmm. She's super cool. Like, people like that. Like, I want to know more. So I'm kind of doing like a research moment myself. So.
And then like what we have right here, you got people of different nationalities and backgrounds talking about the good history. So like Fred Hampton, Chairman Fred Hampton of the Black Panther Party. He started the Rainbow Coalition. I mean, people like to say things based on one side of history, but if you really do your research, Fred Hampton was all about bringing people together, and that's why they took him out, because he was bringing unity against an issue. So, I kind of had a lot of students in Broadcast Club kind of throw out some little known Black history facts, and I had a teacher print off several, and I am going to throw out some little known Black history facts, and Jarvis, you can read some too.
Oh, okay.
For example, here in Kansas City we have the Alvin Ailey Dance Theater, but little do people know that the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater changed the perception of American dance, and it was founded in 1958. So, I mean, Alvin Ailey Dance is huge, and we have an actual studio here in town that is so close to the roots of how it started. People don't really know that. Yeah.
Okay. Landmark all of it?
Yeah. No, it's just read one.
Oh, okay. Landmark victory for couples of different races, and the Lovings are often heralded as being the catalyst for making it happen. The last law firmly prohibited marriage was overturned in Alabama in 2000. The Loving were featured in 2016 biopic Loving starring Ruth Nega and Joe Edgerton.
So pretty much, he was saying that it was illegal to marry someone of a different race, and there was a landmark decision. And I'm not too surprised that what they say, Alabama. Yeah, yes. Alabama was the issue. So I mean, like, we have all these little known facts. Like I told the students in class that it was some things that are discussed but not discussed. So I want to ask Lexi and Abby, how can we get more of these little known facts more widespread in curriculum? I mean, we don't want to discredit what Dr. King and Rosa and Mr. Tubman did and all that, but how can we talk about all this other stuff? I got like pages of information. So how can we talk about this more? I mean, what are ways we can do to get this stuff out more? This information, this history. What do you suggest?
I feel like just talking about everyone, not the ones that are like the safe options or the ones everyone wants to.
Ooh, she said safe option. I like that. So let me ask this question. I like picking your brain. You mentioned safe option. Why do you think schools use the safe option? And please answer freely. I know you know the answer to this question, because you and I talk.
Maybe just because they don't really want people to know what was really going on, or they're the ones, like when you go look up stuff, they're the first ones that you see, not the people who are actually doing more than those 30 people.
I like that. Abby, same question goes to you. How can we get more history besides the safe options, as Lexi so eloquently put it, to be more widespread in the curriculum? More talk, talking class more.
Having more like research things, like projects.
I like that research project. Now Abby, how would that research project look?
Given like a certain person to look up or anyone but the three main ones.
Ooh, I like that. So pretty much you're outlining the norm. I mean, like no disrespect, but let's talk about this person, or talk about that person, or talk about this subject. Okay, so you all are getting kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Revolutionary in your thinking. I like that. Okay. All right, so let's see. I want to be safe on time here. Now, Ms. Brummett, you have a concept that you wanted to discuss, and it kind of fits in what we're fitting into. And Broadcast Club, I want you to kind of listen to what Ms. Brummett has to say, and then when she gets finished, chime in and see how Broadcast Club can implement that.
So my idea is that we expand Broadcast Club and we add the element of podcasts, and it be specifically about unsung heroes. So it might not be just about Black people. It might also be about famous women that in history that you never hear about, and all those people that you don't hear about, so that we can start learning. And what we would do, my idea, and you can change it, would be to start out would be me or Mr. Gethers coming up with someone, and then us just reading you the story of their life and us having a conversation about it, and eventually it get into where not only are we doing the research, but you guys are doing your own research and sharing your own story as well. So then you can also be a storyteller. And then we just have a conversation. That's my idea.
So with I like that concept because during Black History Month, you have a lot of unsung heroes, several, and you have a lot of unsung heroes that we know. You have some in the building. I mean, look at your principal. I mean, Dr. May is Black history in Raytown. I mean, she is living Black history in Raytown.
What, 18 years of being the head principal?
Something like that, yeah. Mm-hmm. Woman,
amazing.
yeah,
A female Black principal. That's
right.
Amazing.
So I mean, she's, and also you have a new superintendent coming in.
Mm-hmm.
That's history as well too. So you have a lot of groundbreaking historical things going on within your own school district that are going off unsung. So let's talk about this this concept here. How can we implement this? I mean, is this something that you can jump into?
Yes.
Okay. What about you, Abby? Is something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lexi? She looked at me like, yeah. So let's go ahead and throw out some unsung. So who are some people that who you think are Black history that you think is unsung? That if we were actually doing this, we can go ahead and get it started. So who will be an unsung Black history hero to you? So tell me who's unsung and tell me why we need to know more about that person. If whoever comes to your mind, it could be a musician, a comedian, an actor, an actress, politician, a teacher, a principal. Mr. Walker back here owns his own radio station. He's Black history too. So who do you think? Because I mean, go ahead, Lexi.
My first one be Claudia Cloven.
Uh-huh.
Because, she was the actual first Black woman to not give up her seat to a white man. And I don't think we'll talk about her because she was a darker skinned woman versus then a light skinned woman who still goes through, racist things, but not as much as a brown skinned or a darker skinned woman, Black woman.
I'm so glad you said that because colorism is a huge issue.
Mm-hmm.
The lighter you are, the more passable you are, the darker you are, the more and that still goes on to this day. So Lexi, you opened up the door for an even deeper conversation. So we're going to talk about this situation, but let's talk about why it occurred. See that? I like that. Okay, that's good. Anybody else? Who would you like to talk about this unsung?
I don't have a particular name, but there are Black inventors that invented half the things that you use every single day, like the remote, the elevator, the pencil
Cell
sharp.
phone.
Yes, the cell phone, the pencil sharpener, the soap, the gas burner, the fridge, light bulb, potato chips, roller coaster, peanut butter stove, gas stove, spark plug, paper. That's it. Wait, no, that's not it, but that's all I have.
Right, yeah. Man, look at y'all. Okay, good job. I like that. Abby?
Judy Bridges, because she was more one of the younger figures.
I like that. Okay, and she's more relatable to your age, right, Abby? Okay. Now, let's see if I can think. Man, so much. I'll probably talk about some of the ancient civilizations, because we all think that Egypt is the greatest civilization in Africa. It was not.
Oh yeah.
It was not.
Definitely.
No, it was great, but there were some that were greater, and there were some that were older. One of my favorite empires, and I think, Abby, you know this, I talked about it in class, the Mali Empire. The Malian Empire with Mansa Musa. I mean, he was the richest man of all time. He had a caravan from Mali all the way to Egypt, and he gave away an equivalency of $100 million in gold and still had bank. He gave up so much money to Egypt, it offset the economy. So, people need to hear that. You know, King Tut's cool, but that Mansa Musa. You know, King Solomon, another one, African. Yeah, the same one in the Bible, African. Yeah. So, I want to talk about like the ancient civilizations. We're gonna know where we came from. So, that's when I hear Unsung, I kind of think about that. And I just think that, the more we dig in, it's like Lexi. She brought up the whole colorism thing. It sheds a light on more things. Anybody else you want to know about? Let's keep the ball rolling. I like that, because it's like we're actually learning. We're teaching each other.
I would say Madam C.J. Walker. She was the first black millionaire, and she invented the hot. Well, there was a lady before her who also had like the hair grease or whatever, but she wasn't open enough to go to darker skinned women, saying that they were ugly and their hair couldn't get straight.
Okay. Man, Lexi, man, I might have to take a day off and let Lexi teach my class. Okay, Abby? Can you think of anybody else that you want, like, it's unsung? You said no? It'll come to you. You got your Chromebook right next to you. Go ahead and Google, and if you think of something, you jump right on in. Jarvis?
That's it.
No?
No?
Okay, Ms. Brummett?
Bessie Coleman.
Okay.
That's who I'm on right now. I'm like, she was so cool, and I did not know about her until a month ago. Didn't even know she existed. She's awesome.
So tell me about her.
Well, I have a whole thing about her. She is the first female Black and Native American pilot. Do you want me to go further in depth?
Yeah, because people think about Amelia Earhart, but go ahead, go deeper.
No. So, she was born in January of 1892. She is the 10th child to George Coleman and Susan Coleman. George had Cherokee Indian grandparents, but he was also Black, and then Susan is Black. And they were sharecroppers. Do y'all know what sharecroppers are? No? Okay. Well, sharecropping is a legal arrangement where a landowner allows someone who is renting a place to live to also use their land to grow crops, and then the payment to the landowner that the permission that they get to use the land is that they pay all their hard work to the landowner.
Legalized slavery.
Yeah, it's legalized slavery, but it's legal, so it's fine, right? And y'all can interrupt me at any time. This was in Texas. When Bessie was 9, her father left their family to escape racial oppression of Jim Crow laws. He thought that if he went to Indian Territory in Oklahoma, he would escape that. Do you think he escaped that?
No.
But she and her mother stayed in Texas with the 4 younger siblings. She began going to school at the age of 6, but had to walk 4 miles to get to her 1-room segregated school that only went up to 8th grade. However, she did eventually get to go to high school, and she graduated at 18, and she enrolled in what is now Langston University in Langston, Oklahoma. However, she wasn't able to afford more than 1 semester, so she had to leave because she ran out of money. But then in 1915, after spending a few years as a laundress, she decided to move to Chicago with her older brothers. This was 2 years before the United States entered World War I, but her brothers were helping out over in France, and so they started to joke around with her and say things like, women in France are allowed to do so much more than what you can. You'll never be anything like these French women. And so that irritated her, and she said, fine, I'm going to go be a pilot then. However, at this time, black people, and especially women, were not allowed to attend American fighting school, like pilot schools. And so she decided, I'm going to go to France. So she learned French while working 2 jobs. And then she got to school. She took a 7-month course, and she became the first female black and Native American to earn an international aviation license. When she finally returned back to the United States, she was dubbed Queen Bess, or Brave Bessie. And she flew for about 5 years before her unfortunate death. Yeah. If you want to know more, you can read Queen Bess, Daredevil Aviator by Doris Rich, Brave Bessie Flying Free by Lillian Fisher, or Fly High, The Story of Bessie Coleman by Louise Borden.
Research is key. And like Lexi said, and Abigail said as well, that people got to research. So let's, and the thing I like about Broadcast Club is we kind of rock the boat a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and just say this: we have a lot of new administration coming to our district, right? I mean, they already announced the superintendent thing. So if you could send a message respectfully and say, hey, look, this is what I would like to see in regards to Black History Month or other cultural months, what would you say you would like to be done? So let's pretend that the new head of the district is listening right now. What would you suggest to them on how to make Black History Month stronger, make the dedication of students' cultures stronger in this district? Because it can be a lot stronger.
I would say just be more inclusive. Stop being worried about what people want to hear and just tell people what they need to know.
She says that's a little... Okay, I like that. All right, Abby, what about you?
Talking about it past the month it's supposed to be on.
Ooh, that was good too. She said past when it's supposed to be. I like that. I like that face she made too. I was like, supposed to be, yeah. Yeah, keep it going.
Talk about more people every month instead of just Dr. Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, and Rosa Parks every Black History Month at every school that has ever existed every year. Yeah.
He got a little frustrated. How about this? How about we celebrate the culture within our district too, celebrate our students. I mean, so as a student, do you feel that you're actually being celebrated in a manner in which you feel you should be celebrated? I know it's kind of a loaded question, but I mean it's a positive question. I mean, we talk about that snapshot all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you're being represented in the family photo of this district? Okay. Hence why we asked that question. And then you all gave that answer. This is what needs to be done. This is what we like to be done. Because, public school is public school. You have the right to say what you would like done, right? Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and close soon. Oh, man. I'm going to go ahead and just go out on a limb here with this one. Are there any people that you know who identifies as black or African descent that you want to give a strong shout out to as a tribute? Like, think about people in your life who are African descent or who are black, because people, say I'm black or I'm African American. You want to give them their tribute, because we talked about unsung heroes and stuff, and there are a lot of people who who impacts you, and you don't daily, that you were like, hey, look, like mom or dad or we mentioned our principal or the person that lives down the street. I don't know, but who in your life is a strong piece of your personal black history? Strong question, isn't it?
I would say I have two teachers, Mr. Gethers and another teacher named Mr. Ellis. He doesn't work at Raytown, but they are both black teachers and they're men, which you don't also see a lot of either.
Thank you, Lex. I appreciate that, especially with Mr. Ellis too. He's phenomenal. We talked about him last time, and Lexi, I did get in touch with him, and he would love to sit down and do that interview that you were talking about. Okay, anybody else? You want to get somebody like that tribute of history?
Yes, I would.
Who?
My mother, because she's the only reason I am on this planet. So.
Oh, he says mom.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, y'all didn't hear what mom said, but yeah. Well, mom's here in the studio right now, so she's over here blushing. All right. Abby, what about you?
Dr. May and possibly Miss Cole.
Okay. And why would you say Dr. May and Miss Cole?
They're both at our school, and Miss Cole always was like in the classroom and dealing with the kids that aren't as good as the rest or are trouble with some. And
Abby, yeah, I agree with that, because I know, like, sometimes when Miss Cole comes into the room, you light up when you see her. I mean, you do. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. I mean, Abby's just like right by the door, and Abby, I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of put the spotlight on you just a little bit. Abby does have, she is very focused. However, when there are people that come into the classroom that she's not too fond of, I mean, she would kind of give that look. However, when I see Miss Cole walk up in there, she lights up like a Christmas tree. So, I mean, I can tell that Miss Cole actually has a strong influence on Abby. What about you, Miss Brummett?
My roommate James and his sisters. I live with my best friend and her husband, but I'm moving Saturday. I've lived with them for 6 years, so it's about time. But him and his sisters, they've given me a lot of advice, especially in the last few years, on how to support the black community with Black Lives Matter and stuff like that, and the protests. And then Mr. Fletcher, he was on the Royals team when I first started, and he was my buddy at parent-teacher conferences. So, and then you, Mr. Gethers, as well.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're pretty awesome. You support me. You give me advice. So, I'm still a new teacher. It's my 3rd year. I don't super know what I'm doing. So,
Y'all do. Nothing new under the sun. Yeah, I appreciate that. With me, I had to, my family, I would say, is pretty historical. But if I can like point out one, I would definitely probably say my Aunt Teeny. I talk about her a lot. She lived to be 98 years old, and her mom was still sharp at 98. And she was one of the individuals who got me into writing. She wrote her first book when I think she was like in her late 80s, I believe. And she's history. I mean, like I quote her all the time in class. And I remember I was teasing her one time, and I said, I asked how old she was, and we talked about World War II. And I said, hey, did you date a guy named Steve? And she said, huh? I said, do you know a guy named Steve? You ever? And she's like, I know a few Steve. I said, yeah, but this Steve actually fought in World War II. I said, I think he was a captain. Captain Steve Rogers, they call him Captain America. And like, I mean, and I would always kind of like, kind of poke fun at her. And like, when she would figure out that I'm cracking a joke, she'd give me that look. But I knew that she knew I was, what I was talking about. But like, I mean, like when you would sit and talk to Aunt Teeny, I mean, you would learn so much about like, the Bible and about black folk and about this country and about like just how all of that stuff intertwines. So I mean, like, if anybody who had an opportunity to actually just sit and just hear her voice, I got voicemails on my phone right now that she was talking. And it's like, man, I just learned something off voicemail. So she's like history to me, history, strongest person I've ever known. Yep. So we're gonna go ahead and close up the show with that. Any closing shout outs, Jarvis?
No.
You sure?
Yeah.
Come on, man. You've been talking all night. You don't got any closing thing, any shout out, any advice to give to the people? No. No? Oh, now you want to get shy. Okay. All right.
I'm
Abby?
always shy.
Hmm?
I'm always shy.
You always shy.
I'm always shy.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Abby, you got any advice? Any closing comments?
I want to give a shout out to Miss Evans because I feel she's one of the trusted adults, or I trust.
Yeah, you getting a lot of nods on that one. Yeah, Evans is bomb. Yes. Lexi, any shout outs, any closing comments?
No. I shout out the coaches for working with us, especially since some people like me, we, aren't in the best of shape, eat the wrong things, but, they still are working with us.
I love it. Ms. Brum, you have any closing comments, shout outs?
I'm just going to say make good life choices.
I want to shout out RMS Radio because you all are doing so great that your next broadcast is going to be just you. I'm not going to be on the screen.
Oh, wow.
It'll be just you.
That's amazing.
Because
Okay.
you all can do it. You all are growing. You all are making it happen. You are making it happen. And there are some more kids that are going to join on too. So shout out to you all. I mean, you all are making this whole pandemic thing work, within studio and alternating being in the studio and all that. So you all are really making it happen. And I'm really thankful to be your sponsor, coach, whatever I am. I don't know. But you all are doing an excellent job. So shout out to you all. So in closing, I do want to say this. When it comes to Black history or the culture of a person or a country, it's always good to do your research. You heard that term several times repeated. Research, 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 and give people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. Don't be afraid to cross those lines and break those barriers to instill education. Because education is what we need to bridge gaps and to be stronger. So with just saying that, I do encourage, RMS Radio encourages you all to go out and do your research and look at some things that aren't necessarily talked about and have those conversations. This is RMS Radio, and we want to wish you all a good night, and we will see you all again later on this month.
We're shining a long overdue
All right.
spotlight
Lexi,
on the
Abby,
hidden
can y'all still
figures
hear
of
me?
untaught history who deserve to be celebrated for their
Excellent job,
contributions
ladies.
to civil
As
rights,
normal.
politics, the arts, and beyond.
I had the pleasure of meeting Chauncey Spencer II at the Lone Star Flight Museum in Galveston. I told him my daughter and I were fans of the Red Tails and that my brother even named his company after them. Plus, the three of us just loved